Good morning, everybody. Sergeants, can you please start your recordings?
Recording in progress.
The recording is started.
Chambers recording has started.
Thank you. Cloud is started. And good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's remote New York City Council hearing of the Committee on Sanitation and Solid Waste Management. At this time, would all panelists please turn on your videos for verification purposes. To minimize disruption, please place electronic devices to vibrate or silent. If you wish to submit testimony, you may send it to testimony@council.nyc.gov. Again, that's testimony@council.nyc.gov. Thank you for your cooperation. Chair, we are ready to begin.
Thank you all. Very excited to have this hybrid hearing. Thank you for joining our hearing on waste equity, commercial waste zones, and transfer stations. And first, I would like to acknowledge my other committee members, Councilmember Velasquez and Farias, for being here. I'm going to open with a statement, and then we'll turn it over to the committee council, and Councilmember Osei for being here. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, committee members, and Deputy Commissioner Gregory Anderson, BIC Deputy Commissioner, BIC General Counsel for joining us today. I also recognize we've been joined by, I guess just Councilmember Osei. This morning, I stood alongside the Transform Don't Trash Coalition, who are dedicated to transforming New York City's commercial trash industry to reduce waste and pollution, foster clean and healthy communities for all New Yorkers, and create good jobs to ensure the city implements commercial waste zones expeditiously and equitably. In 2019, New York City passed the historic Commercial Waste Zones Law, Local Law 199 of 2019, requiring the establishment of commercial waste zones aimed at implementing a safer, healthier, and more efficient commercial waste collection system throughout the 5 boroughs. The CWZ program improves the waste sector's transparency, accountability, and service to small businesses. The program also provides safety conditions for sanitation workers, reduces vehicle emissions, and decreases citywide greenhouse gas emissions to move our city closer to our 80 by 50 climate goals. Most importantly, the CWZ program will alleviate air pollution burdens and public safety hazards in the frontline BIPOC communities that have historically shouldered the burden of our entire city's waste infrastructure. In 2018, New York City passed the Waste Equity Law, Local Law 152 of 2018, to help reduce the truck traffic associated with collecting and exporting solid waste by requiring the Department of Sanitation to reduce permitted capacity at patriciable and non-patriciable solid waste transfer stations in our 4 overburdened community districts. This was an important step to bring greater environmental justice to the city, with permitted capacity at transfer stations reduced by 50% in Brooklyn, Community District 1, and by 33% in Queens, Community District 12, and Bronx Community Districts 1 and 2, respectively. How commercial waste is collected and where both commercial and residential waste is processed and packaged for export has a major impact on our city overall, but it has acute impacts in the neighborhoods of North Brooklyn, Southeast Queens, and South Bronx. These neighborhoods are home to working class Latinos, Blacks, and immigrant families. And we know that aging commercial waste trucks represent a major source of greenhouse gas emissions in New York City. The congregation of them into these 3 main neighborhoods, on top of the toxins and chemicals and smells, has created significant generational negative health impacts on the people living there. Frontline communities led by people who have never planned to be activists, but who were forced to step up and organize for their communities to be healthy, fought really hard for commercial waste zones and the waste equity law. And it is the responsibility of New York City to honor that fight and implement these laws as a priority. I and many other council members and advocates are ready, able, and committed to working closely with DSNY, BIC, and this administration to advance these laws in good faith and with good spirits. We want New York City to succeed in this work and to ensure the department has the resources to immediately accelerate the work of achieving the city's environmental justice, waste equity, climate, and zero waste goals. Today, we will hear testimony both in person and virtually from city residents, advocates, workers, businesses, DSNY, and BIC on the status of waste equity, transfer facilities, and commercial waste zones. I want to thank my lovely team, Anel Hernandez, Mohammed Khan, and Ryan Hickey for their hard work on pulling this hearing together. I'd also like to thank Jessica Albin, who I've just met for the first time in person, John Seltzer and Ricky Jala in the other room for supporting me as chair, and thank you to Deputy Commissioner Greg Anderson and Justin Bland for being here. I know you all have a wealth of wisdom and experience. I'm looking forward to this conversation today. I also want to acknowledge council members Williams and Botcher have joined us virtually. So now I'm going to hand it over to our committee counsel.
Thank you, Chair. I am Jessica Steinberg-Albin, Acting Counsel to the Sanitation and Solid Waste Management Committee of the New York City Council. Before we begin, I want to remind everyone that you will be on mute if you are remote until you are called on to testify, when you will be unmuted by the host. I will be calling on panelists to testify. Please listen for your name to be called. During the hearing, if council members joining via Zoom would like to ask a question of the administration or a specific panelist, please use the Zoom raise hand function, and I will call on you in order. We will be limiting council member questions to 5 minutes, which includes the time it takes to answer your questions. The first panelist to give testimony will be Gregory Anderson, Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Sanitation. For the question and answer period, we will also be joined by Justin Bland, Director of Commercial Waste Zones from the Department of Sanitation, and David Feldman, Deputy Commissioner of Legal Affairs and General Counsel from the Business Integrity Commission. I will now administer the oath. Deputy Commissioner Anderson, Director Bland, Deputy Commissioner and General Counsel Feldman, I will call on each of you individually for a response. Please raise your right hands. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this committee, and to respond honestly to council member questions? Deputy Commissioner Gregory Anderson.
I do.
Director Justin Bland.
I do.
Deputy Commissioner and General Counsel David Feldman. Thank you. Deputy Commissioner Anderson, you may begin when ready.
Thank you, and good morning, Chair Nurse, members of the City Council Committee on Sanitation and Solid Waste Management. As the Committee Council mentioned, I'm Gregory Anderson, Deputy Commissioner for Policy and External Affairs, and joined by Justin Bland, Director of Commercial Waste for the department, and David Feldman, Deputy Commissioner for Legal Affairs and General Counsel at the Business Integrity Commission. Thank you for the opportunity to testify here today on these important topics related to commercial waste in New York City. So first, I want to say how thrilled I am to be testifying here in person for the first time in 2 years. It's been an exciting 2 weeks for the Department of Sanitation with a new commissioner, new and restored programs, and thank you to the many council members who joined us to announce those programs, millions in additional funding, and all announced in the last 2 weeks. And Commissioner Tisch looks very much forward to joining you here to discuss these topics and more at the executive budget hearing in just 11 days from now. While DSNY collects trash and recycling from residential buildings, approximately 90 different private carters crisscross the city each night to service the city's approximately 100,000 commercial businesses. The private carters dispose of waste at a network of private transfer stations and recycling facilities in New York City and around the metropolitan region. This administration is committed to implementing critical reforms to this system, including the Commercial Waste Zones program. We are committed to working with the Council to continue these efforts in the future, especially as we begin the planning for our 2026 update to the city's comprehensive solid waste management plan. So let me begin with some history that explains where the city is today in terms of waste management. In 2006, the New York City Council adopted the city's solid waste management plan, which is a fair 5-borough plan to sustainably manage New York City's waste and offer flexibility and resiliency in case of a natural disaster or other emergencies. The swamp, as it's known, mandates a shift from waste export by long-haul truck to a system of marine and rail transfer stations spread throughout the 5 boroughs, and the swamp's implementation has provided New York City with new world-class infrastructure. In total, the swamp has reduced truck traffic associated with waste export by more than 60 million miles per year, including 5 million miles in and around New York City. And it has slashed greenhouse gas emissions associated with that export by 34,000 tons annually. After the closure of the Fresh Kills landfill, almost all the waste exported almost all the city's waste was exported by long-haul truck from these privately operated transfer stations. And because of zoning and siting restrictions, these stations were and are still today predominantly located in 3 neighborhoods in North Brooklyn, Southeast Queens, and the South Bronx. The swamp is based on the concept of borough equity, and it has steeply reduced truck traffic associated with waste collection and hauling in these communities. The plan also called for the creation of 8 rail or barge-based transfer stations, along with the use of an existing energy from waste facility in New Jersey. And together, these 9 facilities make up a resilient and reliable network for the export of waste. And we opened the last of these 9 facilities 3 years ago. They also create new waste transfer capacity that has allowed the city to permanently reduce permitted capacity at transfer stations in historically overburdened communities. So while the swamp has transformed the residential waste export system with a focus on rail and barge export, private carters continue to rely on a network of private putrescible and construction and demolition transfer stations that largely export waste by truck. These transfer stations perform an important service for New York City every day, helping New York City's businesses, small and large, dispose of their waste and recyclables that they generate in their day-to-day business. Local Law 40 of 1990 granted DSNY regulatory, permitting, and enforcement authority over waste transfer facilities, which is also shared with the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. After that law was adopted, DSNY enacted a stringent and comprehensive set of operating rules governing the use, conduct, and operation of these transfer stations. DSNY also adopted strict siting rules to restrict new transfer stations and increases in permitted capacity, and the siting rules increase in stringency based on the existing concentration of permitted transfer stations in a given community district. As a result of these regulations, no new transfer stations have opened in historically overburdened communities in at least the last 15 years. The department's Permit and Inspection Unit aggressively regulates the activities of all private transfer stations operating throughout the city by making unannounced visits to conduct thorough inspections of every putrescible and C&D transfer station on average once a week. The vigorous inspection and enforcement efforts by the department have contributed to an overall reduction in the number of transfer station permits by nearly 2/3 since Local Law 40 was enacted in 1990 to just 38 putrescible and C&D transfer stations permitted today. And in the first 3 months of 2022, DSNY has conducted 1,000 inspections at these facilities. The department has averaged 4,800 total inspections annually over the last 3 years. In August 2018, the City Council passed Local Law 152, also known as the Waste Equity Law. Local Law 152 required DSNY to reduce permitted capacity of putrescible and non-putrescible transfer stations in 4 community districts that contain these historically overburdened neighborhoods. Local Law 152 required DSNY to reduce permitted capacity specifically in Brooklyn Community District 1 by 50%, and in Queens Community District 12 and Bronx Community Districts 1 and 2 by 33%. The law also allowed for certain limited exemptions to the reductions in permitted capacity for activities consistent with the city's goals. It allowed these limited exceptions for processing recyclables and organic waste, and also for diverting construction and demolition debris for beneficial reuse and recycling. The law also fully exempted facilities that export waste by rail and have on-site rail infrastructure. Local Law 152 allows facilities to request a one-time permit increase of up to 20% to accommodate future growth in capacity for processing recyclables or organic waste. From 2019 through September 2020, the department implemented these reductions in permitted capacity at 22 facilities that hold a total of 24 transfer station permits. In total, the reductions implemented pursuant to this law cut permitted capacity in the 4 designated districts by 10,137 tons per day. And since October 2020, there have been no additional reductions in permitted capacity. 4 transfer stations located in these districts have opted to reserve a portion of their capacity exclusively to process or separated organic waste for beneficial use. And in total, these facilities reserved 377 tons per day of capacity to process or separated organic waste. And this reserved capacity was excluded for the purposes of determining permit reductions under Local Law 152. The total amount of waste handled at private transfer stations in New York City has decreased from an average of 19,102 tons per day in 2019 to 15,912 tons per day in 2020. While some portion of this decrease is attributable to the permitted capacity reductions imposed under the waste equity law, it is likely that a greater share of the decrease is attributable to the disruption to the commercial waste market associated with the COVID-19 pandemic. In the third quarter of 2021, the most recent for which data are available, daily throughput at NYC transfer stations was 16,679 tons per day, so still reduced from the 2019 daily average. In 2019, the City Council passed Local Law 199, requiring the establishment of commercial waste zones throughout New York City. This exciting initiative came after years of planning, analysis, and stakeholder engagement. Once implemented, this program will create a safe and efficient commercial waste collection system that advances the city's sustainability and zero waste goals while providing high-quality, low-cost service to New York City businesses. The new system is expected to nearly double the commercial diversion rate for recyclables and organic waste. The concept behind commercial waste zones is simple. Instead of as many as 50 carters operating in a single neighborhood on a nightly basis, there will be just a few. These companies will be selected through a competitive request for proposals process that will identify the carters that can provide excellent service with the highest standards at low prices for each area. And the resulting contracts will include standards for pricing, customer service, safety, environmental health, and requirements to promote the city's zero waste and sustainability goals. The new system is expected to reduce commercial waste truck traffic by more than 50%, eliminating millions of miles of truck travel in every neighborhood of New York City, cutting air pollution and reducing the amount of time it takes workers to complete their routes. The new system will nearly double the commercial diversion rate for recyclables and organic waste. Commercial waste zones will create a safer, fairer, and more sustainable system, commercial waste system than the one that operates today. And this administration and our new commissioner are laser focused on achieving the sustainability, safety, and other goals of this program, while also ensuring that we create a system that works for all New York City businesses, including the small businesses that are vital to our city's economic recovery. It is important that we build a system that provides these businesses with high quality service, with transparent and affordable pricing. The department released part 2 of the RFP for commercial waste zones in November of 2021, and responses are due on July 15th of 2022, so in just 2.5 months. This second and final part of the RFP requests detailed plans and pricing proposals from the 50 responsive companies that responded to part 1 of the RFP last year. DSNY has also issued several final rules prior to the release of part 2 of the RFP, providing detail on the regulations and requirements that the carters will be subject to under the Commercial Waste Zones program. These include the designation of the 20 zone boundaries and rules regarding customer service, recycling and organics, operational requirements within the zones, safety and training requirements, waste generation audits, and an administrative fee. Future rulemakings will be conducted to establish reporting and record-keeping requirements, to establish the transition dates for each zone, and define the protocols for ensuring every customer has a carter at the end of their transition period. DSNY is currently staffing up a new Bureau of Commercial Waste to continue the implementation of this program, including outreach staff, technical experts, and contract administrators. We expect to finalize the contracts around the end of the year and begin customer transition in 2023. The zones will be transitioned in phases over a period of around 2 years. So thank you for this opportunity, council members, Chair Nurse, everyone on the phone, to testify this morning on these important topics that impact all New Yorkers, and we're now happy to answer your questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Commissioner, for that report. I just want to acknowledge we've been joined online by Council Members Brewer, Gennaro, and Menon. So I'm going to do a few round of questions, and then we'll check to see if any council members have so they can move on with their day, but then we'll go for the second round. So the first topic we have is commercial waste zones. We have about 9-ish questions, and then we'll move on to waste equity. Commercial waste zones require a strong team to implement this transformative policy to meet climate and waste goals. What is the fiscal year 23 budgeted versus actual headcount for the commercial waste zone division? And what specific titles are you hiring for?
Thank you for the question, Chair. And as we've said before, we are fully funded to implement this program The budget cuts that we've taken earlier this year have not affected the commercial waste zones program in any way, and we continue to be fully funded in the future. Justin Bland, who's our director of commercial waste, has been working on this project for probably six and a half years now. So he'll walk through what the specific staffing numbers are and what titles are in the works.
Great. Thank you, Greg. Good morning, Chair. As Greg mentioned, we are fully funded for all the staffing that we need for the Bureau of Commercial Waste to have a strong implementation of this program. So for fiscal 23, we are budgeted for 27 civilian and 10 uniform headcount. We are rapidly staffing up at the moment. We have currently, including myself, 13 employees in the Bureau of Commercial Waste. We are actively hiring for 6 more positions right at this moment. The civilian staff is primarily divided between outreach staff and contract staff. So outreach staff will be communicating everything that the department needs to communicate with commercial waste generators, so businesses who produce waste and hire carters. So they will be charged with communicating the regulations and changes of commercial waste zones, their rights and responsibilities as customers, as well as existing regulations for commercial recycling and organics. We're also hiring a number of contract staff who will be firstly administering and helping with the RFP process, and then actually managing the awards that we enter into with the selected carting companies, holding them accountable to all the programmatic standards. The 10 uniform headcount will be uniform sanitation police officers that will be doing in-the-field enforcement, and they'll be joining our existing enforcement unit to enforce on commercial rules and carter activities in the field.
Just for clarification, the 27, out of the whole 27 civilian staff for outreach, how many is the ideal number that you're looking for to do outreach on all this?
10 dedicated outreach.
Thank you. The Council is committed to ensuring a transparent and expeditious implementation of commercial waste zones. Last month, 30 council members sent a letter to the mayor to express concern about the delays in implementing Local Law 199. In March 22, DSNY announced that the deadline for the carters to submit a request for proposal would be proposed from April 15th to July 15th. So for starters, can you confirm that the deadline will remain July 15th for those contracts?
Yeah, the deadline will remain on July 15th.
Okay. Can you provide the committee an update as to what the conversations have been like with commercial businesses on the implementation of the CWZ program?
Sure. So as I mentioned in the testimony, we've been having detailed conversations with stakeholders on every side of this issue since we started this process, and really since the advocates first raised this issue probably 6 or 7 years ago. And we've continued to have those conversations. In the procurement phase itself, we're sort of limited in what we can and can't talk about, because we want to make sure the procurement and the RFP process is as fair as possible. So all of the carters have the same information, are playing on the same field, and really can provide their best responses to that RFP. But as soon as we have those RFP responses in and have the awards completed, we look forward to sort of re-engaging that stakeholder engagement process.
Can you give some specifics on why the process was delayed?
Yeah, I think there's a few factors here. First, it's an incredibly comprehensive change to this industry. We have one shot to do it, and we want to make sure we do it correctly. So I think that's probably the most important thing. Originally, we gave carters 4 months to respond. It was clear that that was not enough time, so we've extended it to July 15th. We think that's the right amount of time to allow them to develop all of the technical plans that they need, to provide all of the compliance and financial information that we're asking for, and to really work through their pricing proposal and give good, competitive, affordable prices for the services that they're going to provide. And then in addition, there was a tremendous amount of uncertainty this winter with the Omicron wave, and I think there was some concern that that could have further impacts on both commercial businesses as well as the private carting industry. So I think giving a little bit of extra time to sort of come out of that wave, allow the industry to restabilize again, was the right thing to do.
Okay, and for when that decision was made, was that on behalf of the administration, or was that a recommendation from DSNY to delay?
Yeah, so that decision was made in consultation between sanitation and the mayor's office. We have been keeping the mayor's office very closely involved in this process. We've briefed the deputy mayor several times. We've briefed, Justin and I have probably briefed the new commissioner like 5 or 6 times in the last week. So everyone's very involved in this process. Obviously, very committed to making sure we achieve all the goals, but also that we do it the right way.
Great. And can you walk the committee through what kind of coordination DSNY has done with BIC in relationship to CWZ implementation?
Absolutely. We have been incredibly close partners throughout this program, through the initial study, the implementation plan development, the local law development, the regulatory process, and the RFP. Obviously, BIC is the subject matter expert on the carding industry as it stands today. They hold all the data on the licensees, on their customers, on their financial statements. They're the ones doing enforcement in that realm today. So we really value their input and their opinions, and we've been working with them very closely on that. We'll continue to work very closely with them going forward as well. And Deputy Commissioner Feldman, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yes, thank you. That's exactly right.
You have to turn your mic on.
That's exactly right, Deputy Commissioner Anderson. We've been coordinating very closely on rulemaking to make sure the two agencies' regulatory schemes are consistent. BIC sits on the Commercial Waste Zone Safety Task Force. We communicate regularly with DSNY to ensure that the process is proceeding smoothly, and we share data and information with DSNY as necessary. And we look forward to our continued role with the process moving forward. Although commercial waste zones represent a large change for the commercial waste industry, much of BIC's current mandate will remain in place and function alongside of the CWZ program. Most fundamentally, as Deputy Commissioner Anderson mentioned, all trade waste companies participating in the CWZ program must be licensed by BIC, and licensees will still be required to renew those licenses every 2 years. BIC will continue to regulate those companies for good character, honesty, and integrity. To take one important example, the potential for price collusion or other anti-competitive behavior is an ongoing concern of BIC's. As the CWZ program is implemented, BIC will continue to work to foster competition in the trade waste industry and to guard against collusion. BIC also will sit on the RFP committee to review RFP submissions, and BIC and DSNY have co-enforcement authority when it comes to issuing violations and making sure that private carders are operating safely and keeping the city streets clean.
So besides what you normally are doing, it sounds like most of what you normally do will continue. Is there any other specific change that will happen to your process?
Well, in addition to continuing with our mission, as I outlined, the day-to-day regulation of the customer-carder relationship within commercial waste zones, such as customer service and operational requirements that Deputy Commissioner Anderson mentioned in his testimony, those will be under the purview of the Department of Sanitation, and we do look forward to continuing to work with DSNY on those issues.
Do you anticipate any staff changes required for BIC at this new process?
We like to call ourselves a small agency with a big mission. Commercial waste zones is one example of that expanding mission. We believe we have our current staffing levels are sufficient, but we can always do more with more.
Got it. Okay, I see a couple council members starting to raise their hands, so I will kind of move through some of these questions. The Commercial Waste Zone Safety Task Force was created by Local Law 199 and meets regularly to make recommendations for the effective implementation of safety measures relating to commercial waste collection. It is chaired by the Commissioner of Sanitation, includes the chair of the Business Integrity Commission, as well as others appointed by industry and policy experts. When was the last time the task force met, and how often does it meet?
So the last time the task force met was around a month ago, late March-ish. Meets quarterly right now, and is intended to meet quarterly at least through the beginning of the implementation of commercial waste zones. And I'm actually excited we have one of the task force members in the room with us today, Bernadette Kelly from the Teamsters. So it's I think, been a really good forum for conversations. We look forward to seeing what the recommendations come out of that task force going forward.
In your estimation, when the CWZ program is fully implemented, how much truck traffic, air pollution reduction do you all imagine would be achieved?
Sure. So according to our analysis and our EIS, we're expecting at least a 50% reduction in truck traffic, and that's net of all the changes that come with commercial waste zones. That's even taking into account the additional diversion and recycling that we expect. As far as the emissions reduction, the number is slightly lower because you still have to you still have the time at every stop that the truck is running. So we're thinking it's going to be closer to about a third, but we'll continue to look at those going forward, and we're very focused on making sure that we actually achieve those goals.
Okay, and just to back up a little bit, can you tell us a bit about your for BIC, your data systems and tracking processes for licenses and fines?
Certainly. We have, with fines,
For your licensing and fines, your data tracking systems, and a little bit about your licensing and fine system.
Sure. So BIC has a database. Internally, we call it Nimbus, that includes all of the licensees, all of our registrants. It also includes vehicle by vehicle data relating to safety and environmental requirements. And on that same database, we also track the violations that have been issued to companies, the status of payments, and ongoing follow-up on those violations.
For carters that have significant violations, is any of that publicly available?
That information is available through the open data process,
Okay.
and I'd say much of that data is available publicly. If there's specific information that you're interested in following up on that's not publicly available, we're happy to follow up with counsel on that.
No, thank you for that. I think it's important for that information to be easily accessible. A lot of members have questions and they want to know, as carters are approaching them, is this a reputable company or not? They're getting asked for letters of support, so that publicly available data is really important, and having that updated and up to date is really key. So thank you for that. Okay, I'm going to move back to where we were at. What is the plan to communicate to New Yorkers and business owners around commercial waste zones?
So we've been working on a plan for several years now, and as Justin mentioned, we're staffing up an internal outreach team. What he didn't mention before is we're also going to have external outreach staff, so contracted outreach staff, to supplement that team of 10. So it won't just be 10 people talking to the 100,000 businesses. We'll have several dozen people out there on the streets, and our goal is really to meet businesses where they're at, communicate them in the way that makes the most sense for them, whether that's by email, whether that's in person, whether that's through a trade association, through their bid, in whatever language they're comfortable with. So we're really trying to take a comprehensive approach to the outreach, and we want every business to be aware of what their rights are, what their carters are required to provide to them, and how to make the right choice for their business as they're going through the commercial waste zones implementation. So we'll have a lot more information about that as we get closer to implementation next year.
Do you have an anticipated launch date for beginning that outreach before the contracts are solidified?
Yeah, so we're actually, starting next month, we're going to be sending our outreach team out into the field to really focus on commercial recycling and commercial organics programs. And as part of that communication, they'll start talking to businesses about what to expect for commercial waste zones. So as we've said before, there's 8,000 new businesses that are covered by commercial organics regulations that are due to start receiving enforcement later this summer. So we really want to make sure we're talking to as many of those as possible. We also want to really focus on ramping back up commercial recycling outreach and enforcement as well. So that's going to be the focus initially, but as we get closer to issuing the commercial waste zones awards and starting the implementation process next year, we'll certainly transition over to speaking more clearly and directly about commercial waste zones to businesses.
Thanks. You kind of touched on the commercial organics recycling, and you definitely mentioned that you plan to start this summer. What is the agency's plan to enforce these rules?
So I think our plan is, and this sort of reflects the administration's overall approach to enforcement with businesses, is we want to encourage businesses to comply with the law, and if we can do that through education, through warnings, we absolutely will. We are, as I mentioned, planning to send our enforcement team out, or our outreach team out, starting in May, to go door to door to businesses, to host training sessions and webinars, to work with stakeholders of all types, particularly in the restaurant industry, because the vast majority of new covered establishments are restaurants. So that's really the approach that we want to take. If we, come July 31st or later in the summer, if we identify that businesses aren't taking any steps to comply and are just, flagrantly violating the rules, we may have to issue fines and take enforcement action, but obviously that's a last resort for us.
How many enforcement staff are currently working on that piece? Or is it just bundled into general enforcement? Yeah,
it's bundled into our general enforcement. The commercial enforcement, because it does involve a more detailed inspection of the establishment, is generally done by our sanitation police officers. And we do have a class of sanitation police officers that's just finishing the academy now. We have another class going in a few months, so we are staffing up that unit. It had taken some reductions as a result of the staffing issues during COVID, but we're trying to get back to full head count there. And then once we get into fiscal 23, we'll have 10 additional sanitation police officers that are explicitly focused on commercial enforcement.
Okay. And just in general, for where commercial organics law is now and in its phase, how well are we doing? How well is the industry doing in meeting and being in compliance with what the phase of the law is as of this moment?
So I think we probably took a step back during COVID because we certainly wanted to take a light touch with businesses that were being tremendously affected by the disruption that the pandemic caused. But we know for a fact that there are hundreds or thousands of businesses that are doing the right thing. I was in a coffee shop yesterday. I always take a look around at the garbage setup. I saw their compost bin in the back, and it was nice and full of both compostable plastics as well as coffee grounds and other compostable things. So I think there are businesses out there doing the right thing. We want to make sure that as we pivot back toward an enforcement approach, that we're doing the outreach first and making sure they know what the requirements are and have the tools to comply.
Do you have any kind of percentages? Like, is 50% of businesses compliant, 60%, or just during the last 2 years, are we just back at a very, very low level?
Looking at the food waste generation or the food waste processing reports from the transfer stations, we haven't really seen the amount of food waste that's being processed decrease substantially. So I think a lot of businesses are doing the right thing. There has been a tremendous amount of disruption in that industry, so I don't want to put a specific number on it. That would just be, my own sort of guess. But I think a lot of businesses are doing the right thing, and by the end of the summer, we expect 100% of them will be.
Just to be clear, how do you all track that in general? If you don't want to give a number, that's fine, but what is the are you tracking this? What is the method in which you're able to evaluate that?
Sure. So we receive quarterly reports from all the transfer stations that process organic waste. So that's one way we know how much organic waste at least is going through that system. Obviously, there could be material that's being transported directly out of the city, either to locations on Long Island or in Westchester or Connecticut or New Jersey. We don't have great insight into that. Once we have commercial waste zones in place, we'll have 100% transparency into where everything is going. So that's another benefit of commercial waste zones. And then as far as on the individual business level, who is doing the right thing, that's really through inspection, through 3-on-1 complaints, and that's what we expect to be ramping up this summer.
And around that, just in terms of an average of pricing, are you all tracking what people are being charged for the organics piece of that?
Yeah, we're tracking it. Obviously, that's information that BIC has as well, and everything is subject to the BIC rate cap, so you can't exceed that for any commodity, whether it's refuse, recycling, or organics.
Great. I just have two more questions, and I'll open it to my colleagues. Have DSNY and BIC relaxed or changed enforcement of recycling rules for both commercial businesses and trade waste haulers during COVID-19?
Yeah, so I think, thank you for the question, Chair. I think yes, as I mentioned before, we did take a step back from the enforcement approach, recognizing the impact the pandemic was having on businesses, but we're looking to be back up at full speed this summer and expect every business to be in compliance by the end of the summer.
Great. And then lastly, the 2006 Solid Waste Management Plan calls for DSNY to study the feasibility of utilizing the city's marine transfer stations to collect commercial waste. The current RFP for the CWZs invites waste companies to express interest in utilizing MTS in their future operations. As this is implemented, diesel truck miles could be further reduced, especially in the most overburdened environmental justice communities, by directing commercial waste trucks to MTS near the zones they're collecting from. So for example, Manhattan commercial waste could be delivered to the East 91st Street station without needing to cross bridges to the Bronx, Brooklyn, or Queens. Our understanding is that the MTSs also operate as safely and cleanly as possible, with modern technology, full containerization of waste, and well-trained union DSNY employees. What plans does DSNY have to open these facilities to private haulers, if any? And I know we asked this a couple months ago in our hearing. And have you considered how the MTS will be priced?
Thank you, Councilmember. And I think the first step, as you mentioned, is to really understand where the interest is from commercial waste haulers in terms of using the MTSs. Some of the haulers that we expect to respond to the RFP are vertically integrated companies. They have their own transfer stations. Their transfer stations and their garages or operational facilities are all sort of closely sited near each other, so it may not make sense for them to come to a city facility. Others that don't have their own transfer stations, particularly those that are operating in zones near the MTSs, I think it could make a lot of sense. So we look forward to seeing where those expressions of interest come out as part of the RFP process. And really there are, of the 4 marine transfer stations, there are 2 that really have the most capacity available, and also those 2 happen to be the ones that are furthest from existing private transfer infrastructure, so there's the most potential benefit there. And so those are the 2 that we've asked for expressions of interest in relation to. As far as pricing, this is, and I'm sure we can get into this in our executive budget hearing upcoming, but our facilities are not necessarily cheap. Our waste export budget is quite high, and a lot of that cost is related to the steps that we take to make sure the facilities are sustainable, that they have the least impact on the community, that we're exporting by barge and rail. So taking all of those additional steps does cost additional money. So our cost per ton is maybe not as competitive with private facilities as we would like. So we'll have to look at that if we do move in the direction of opening these facilities up. And then one last piece is the private industry does work slightly different hours than sanitation does. Most of our trucks are tipping either on the day shift or in the afternoon and evening. The private carters operate generally overnight. So we would have potentially some staffing impacts as far as adding additional staff to receive those trucks, process the waste, and make sure that we're moving that through on the overnight. So we're looking at all those factors, and once we have the RFP responses in place and have the awardee selected, we'll have a better sense of where we're going on that.
Mm-hmm. And do you have just at all any general kind of differentials between cost per ton to tip now versus what you potentially would have to charge for an MTS?
It varies pretty greatly. I think if your trucks are already going back to New Jersey at the end of the night, you can get probably a much better price in New Jersey than you can anywhere in New York City. Compared to New York City transfer stations, we might be looking at a $20, $30 a ton delta, but I don't have the specific numbers as far as what the private transfer stations are charging today versus what we would have to charge.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for answering those questions. I think we're going to go to council members. We're going to call up Council Member Menon, followed by Velasquez, followed by Ayala.
Sorry.
Thank you so much, Chair Nurse, for this very important hearing. And I want to say I'm very interested in this topic. When I was serving as Consumer Affairs Commissioner, I also served as a BIC Commissioner, so I'm very familiar with how BIC operates, and that's really where my questioning is. I am deeply concerned about a lack of number of outreach staff. If I heard correctly, you have 10 outreach staff to do outreach to small businesses around commercial waste zones. So my concern is that number seems incredibly low. I'd like to know how many languages the outreach staff speak, because particularly for many of our small businesses, language access is going to be mission critical. And then on that vein, what are your plans to partner with other agencies? SBS, DCWP have enormous outreach staff. Are you going to be working with them? Because I would highly recommend that you do a partnership with them so that when their inspectors are out, they're also working collaboratively on this issue.
Thank you for those questions, Councilmember Menon. Absolutely, we are working very closely with SBS. We've worked with them throughout the development of the commercial waste zones program, and will certainly leverage all of their resources, all of their outreach staff, as well as with DCWP, with the health department, everyone who has people out in the field talking to businesses on a regular basis. We plan to work with them to get the message out there about commercial waste zones. As I said before, the 10 outreach staff is just the sort of full-time presence. We will have several dozen temporary contracted outreach staff so that we can really flood each of the zones as the transition period approaches and speak to every business about the commercial waste zones program, what to expect, what their rights are, what their responsibilities are. And then as far as language access, that's something that we're taking very seriously. Just in the outreach team that we've put together so far, we have a number of languages covered, and we will be using, for languages that we don't have on staff specifically, we'll be using all of the language access programs and vendors that are available to us to make sure that we're communicating both verbally and in writing with businesses in the language that's best for them.
Okay, could you just be specific about what languages are covered? And I personally have an issue with some of the tools that the city uses on language access, having a lot of those language access tools, if it's not a live person who speaks that language, there are real language access barriers, particularly for our immigrant-owned small businesses.
Sure, so Justin can speak to the specific languages that we have on the team so far. And as we mentioned before, we're still continuing to build that team, so the number certainly will continue to grow. And then as far as the specific, the other tools that we have to add additional languages to that portfolio, we would be happy to sit down with you and discuss your recommendations, discuss what you've sort of learned from other programs in the past, and really take those best practices. So Justin.
Yeah, thank you. So just in the outreach staff that we've already hired, we have staff that speaks Cantonese, Mandarin, Spanish, and Russian, and that's just with the initial outreach hires. So speaking another language that's common in commercial establishments is something that we're looking for as we're staffing up. As Greg mentioned, we are also going to enter into a contract with a temporary staffing provider for the big deployment of commercial waste zones. So talking to the 100,000 establishments, 10 people is not enough to cover 100,000 establishments. So we're bringing people on. That will be a separate RFP process to hire a vendor for contracted staff. One of the biggest criteria is how can you bring on temporary staff that speaks the language of the businesses in each zone that we're turning on one by one. Additionally, we do make our materials, our print materials, available in multiple languages. So print versions of things that we hand out. We also have Chinese and Spanish versions of those, as well as digital translations in many other languages as well.
Okay, if I can suggest on paid sick leave, when we implemented that, we did it in 25 different languages, so not 3 languages. So again, I would really urge Vic to be expansive on this so that we're reaching so many of our small businesses. Be a barrier.
Thank you, Councilmember Menon. Thank you. Now we're going to hear from Councilmember Marjorie Velasquez.
Time starts now.
Councilmember Velasquez.
I'm still on mute. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I was trying to remove my mute, but it seemed like it was a little tough. So first of all, I want to thank the chair for organizing today's meeting. As a member from the Bronx, we have seen how waste equity adversely always affects us in the outer boroughs. So thank you for having this important hearing today. And I also wanted to thank the new Commissioner Tish for coming out into my district last week. I know she's new. And I heard today that there has been conversations with her. What is the commitment from the commissioner to the implementation of commercial waste zones at this point? And can you guide us as to how can we advocate for much more attention to this if she hasn't have a full commitment to it?
Thank you for that question, Councilmember, and the Commissioner certainly enjoyed the Earth Day cleanup last Friday, so it was lovely weather for it. She was happy to get up to the Bronx and looks forward to coming back up there soon. As far as her focus on commercial waste zones, she has been, she's a very knowledgeable person and has asked so many questions. She's so interested in making sure she understands what has been done so far and has been asking really good questions about how we can do even better. She's really focused on getting this done on the timeline we've set forth and really doing it properly so that we can achieve our program goals, so that we can deliver the safety benefits, the sustainability benefits, and have transparent and affordable service for our small businesses.
Thank you. I appreciate it. No more questions for you.
Thank you, Councilmember Velasquez. Next up, I'm going to invite Deputy Speaker Diana Ayala to ask a question.
Time starts now.
Good morning, everyone. I have a couple of questions. So one question is obviously the famous case of the missing garbage cans. My district is in dire need of garbage cans on every corner, and there has historically been a number of garbage cans that have been removed by sanitation, supposedly because there has been evidence that there has been household garbage put on, put in these corners, and that was the rationale for removing the garbage cans. But now the outcome is that we have garbage on the floor. So that's something that I would like to hear a little bit more about, is where are my garbage cans and when can I get them back? And two, in terms of budget equity, because this is really my pet peeve, I want to first give a shout out to all of our sanitation workers who I think do a fantastic job in really difficult situations. And so this is in a way a reflection of what I think of them and the work that they do. But I feel like in my district, there is a larger need for more services. And I wonder what does the budget look like per garage district? Is it different? Is it the same? And I really want to hear a response to that first.
Thank you for those questions, Councilmember. So as far as the budget piece, I don't have any specific budget numbers in front of me right now, but when we're back in this room in 11 days with the Commissioner for the executive budget hearing, we'll certainly have all of that information, and we can provide you some specifics even before then in response to that question. So we'll follow up with you after this hearing with that information. And then as far as the missing garbage cans, it had been the practice of sanitation in the past, if litter baskets were routinely misused, either by businesses or by residential waste, that we would remove them. We stopped that practice probably 4 years ago at this point and had returned litter baskets that were removed up until that point. If there's specific locations where you think litter baskets are missing, you should let us know and we will make sure those get back out there.
Yeah, mine's never came back. I'm glad to, I'm happy to give you a breakdown of where. And in regards to the level of services, so I'm trying to understand this again, looking at it from an equity lens. So is every community receiving the same? I know I get the budget piece, but if I'm getting two pickups a week, right? Two litter can pickups a week with the sweeping and whatever. Is every district receiving the same level of service? Is it equitable in that way? Because my sense is that we all get the same level of service, even though some communities are very unique and need more.
So absolutely every district does not get the same level of service. There are a number of factors that go into it. In your district in particular, we've been deploying extra services in the East Harlem area, in parts of the Bronx portion of your district for the last several years. And, we want to continue to...
Where exactly? I'm sorry.
So
I know I got supplemental services on 125th Street, but that was at my request.
Yeah, and we've continued to provide those services in that area. We have increased litter basket service throughout the Community District 11 for the last 2 years. As we continue to have services restored, we will continue to add additional service in your district.
Listen, I appreciate that, but I requested those services, and so I'm not going to give the sanitation department credit for something that I requested, because I think that the issue on equity is that, I want the department to be a little bit more proactive and to identify these areas of needs before the council members have an opportunity to even request them. And quite frankly, my district, and specifically the Bronx part of the district, even though the Manhattan part of the district is not faring so well, is really, really, really dirty, and it's consistently dirty. And that is problematic for me, because we have also the highest rates of, rats, and impacting our small businesses, impacting residential residents. And I see it. I'm out there. I'm documenting. We're scheduling cleanup events. We are supplementing cleaning services through, our own discretionary funds. And I want to know what exactly is the department doing about being a little bit more proactive and identifying these areas of need before we come to you. So I will have a whole bunch of questions around the same issue at the executive budget hearing. So I hope that, you come prepared with some data on what the funding looks like per garage and per borough, because quite frankly, I'm seeing that we're approving a lot of bids, which is great, right? Because bids play an instrumental role, but if we're creating more bids to supplement the resource services that should be rendered by city agencies, and that becomes a problem for me. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Councilmember Ayala, and I will certainly circle back with you to get some of those questions ahead of time so we can have that data prepared for May 10th. Next, I'm going to invite Councilmember Osei up to ask some questions.
Thank you so much, Chairwoman Nurse, and I'm always honored to be in this committee with your leadership and knowledge of the sanitation crisis that our city is dealing with. With that being said, as we have been hearing on these various different hearings, throughout the year, our city is in a sanitation crisis. There is a war on trash right now. Thus, these hearings are very important. And while, I definitely appreciate the responses of Deputy Commissioner, I want to ask, why is the Commissioner Tisch not on this hearing today?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Councilmember. And it is just her 10th day on the job. We have been doing everything we can to bring her up to speed on this and a number of other topics. And she'll be in front of the committee in 11 days at the executive budget hearing. So we just wanted to make sure that we had the people here today that could answer the specific questions. And I think within the next 11 days, she'll be a full-time expert on every single thing that we do. So she'll be prepared to answer any question you have at that point.
Well, should there have been a commissioner that was up to speed on everything before they entered the job as Commissioner of Sanitation?
I can assure you that Commissioner Tisch is very well informed, very knowledgeable about everything about sanitation. She's been doing a lot of research. She's watched dozens of past council hearings. So I'm not implying that she is not prepared for the job, just that the questions in front of this committee today are very specific about the details of the commercial waste zones implementation, the waste equity law implementation, and we wanted to be able to provide those detailed answers for those questions. And she will be in front of this committee in 11 days for the executive budget hearing and can answer questions at that point on any topic that you have.
Okay, thank you, Deputy Commissioner.
Thank you, Councilmember Osei. Next up is Councilmember Farias.
Time starts now.
Hi, good morning, folks. Hi, good morning. Sorry, I'm in a senior center. Thank you, Chair Nurse, for putting this really important hearing together today. And my colleagues have asked really great questions already, so I don't want to harp on many of those, especially since we have the hearing coming up in 11 days, as you've mentioned. I'd like to talk a little bit about the RFP, if possible, for the commercial waste zones, and specifically about the labor structure. Does the commercial waste zone RFP mention anything about prevailing wages?
So the commercial waste zone RFP does ask for specific wage scales. Because this is not a procurement where we're actually spending any city money, we cannot require prevailing wages be used, but we are looking at wage scales. We are looking at the staffing numbers to ensure that that people are paying fair wages and that there are appropriate staffing numbers for the services being provided.
Okay, within these wage scales, are we also asking that the awardee or the awarded companies provide medical, dental, 401, PTO, general things like that around what they would receive under either a prevailing wage project or a unionized shop?
Yeah, we're requesting information about all of the wages and benefits that are provided to workers, including all those things you mentioned.
Okay, awesome. And the current industry wage structure do you know what the current industry wage structure for drivers and helpers, like the wages, the salaries, annual earnings, benefits, things like that?
I don't have
do
that.
We know if that's, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have that information with me today. We do have a large amount of that information that we've received either from BIC or through the first part of the RFP process, and we will be receiving updated information from the proposers as far as what their wage schedules are, what their benefit offerings are for different titles. We do know that there is a mix in the industry right now of union and non-union labor. There are a few different unions that represent employees in this industry, and we certainly want to encourage awardees that are participating in this program to keep their workers safe, pay their workers a fair wage, make sure that their employees are receiving all of the things that they need to be able to do their job properly and safely.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, one of my larger concerns right now is the fact that some folks might be put at a disadvantage in terms of applying for the RFP. And I just want to make sure that we're leveling out the playing field as much as possible. The other question I do have is around the nationwide shortage of CDL drivers. Before being a council member, I worked in actually getting folks into their licensing of both Class A and Class B. I know of the nationwide shortage. Has that shortage affected local hiring and retention at all?
So I think that the shortage of CDL drivers is certainly something that we are keeping an eye on. It affects us internally within sanitation, whether or not we're expecting to begin our summer hiring season in the next few weeks, and whether or not people are interested in or prepared to take the job with a CDL already versus whether we have to do the training and help them get the CDL has been a bigger challenge in the last year than it had been in the past. We expect that the same challenges face the private industry. We have not heard specifically that there are driver shortages that would cause any issues, but certainly hiring challenges that are probably driving up wages in that sector. Where there have been some driver shortages have been actually on the long haul export side of things, so actually hauling the garbage to the landfill. But so far, we haven't seen any operational impacts of that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I will come with more specific district questions at the the preliminary hearings next, or the budget hearings in a couple weeks. But thank you for answering these around the RFP. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilmember Farias. I just want to acknowledge Councilmember Mealy has joined us, but I'm going to move into the waste equity and transfer station line of questioning. I only have 6 questions so that we can get through that and then allow folks that have joined us in person to participate, and we're going to do a series of panels. And then we'll hear from folks, anybody who's online virtually after. So I'll start with our first question. The total reduction of permitted capacity during the implementation period of Local Law 152 was a combined 10,137 tons per day, 20 million pounds, I think. And the breakdown below is Brooklyn Community Board District 1, 7,112, Queens Community Board District 12, 660, Bronx Community Board District 1, 898, Bronx Community Board District 2, 1,467. So when comparing total daily throughput at these locations versus daily tonnage reduction, what is the percentage of reduction?
Sure. The reduction in daily throughput has been a 17% reduction citywide. And it varies by district of the 4 districts that are covered by Local Law 152. The largest reductions were in Queens 12, which was a 23% reduction in throughput, and Bronx 2, which is the Hunts Point area. That's a 23% reduction in throughput as well. In Brooklyn 1, which is Williamsburg, Greenpoint, that's an 18% reduction. And in Bronx 1, which actually has very few transfer stations, actually only 2, an 8% reduction. And the 8% reduction there is largely because one of those 2 transfer stations in Bronx 1 is the Waste Management Harlem River Yard transfer station that receives waste from DSNY that's collected in the Bronx and exports it by rail. So that was not affected by Local Law 152.
Does DSNY expect continued reductions in tonnage from the legislation? And what is the oversight to ensure these reductions are consistently met?
So I think we're in a little bit of a place of uncertainty right now because we don't know how the city's economic recovery will progress over the next several years from the COVID-19 pandemic. As I mentioned in my testimony, we think some of the reduction that's taken place is as a result of Local Law 152. Some of it is just natural decreases in waste tonnage because of the pandemic and the economic impacts of that. We're still seeing in the sanitation side, on the residential waste, we're still seeing higher waste generation than we had before the pandemic. A lot of people still doing more at home, working at home, and those sorts of things. So it's unclear how quickly that will shift back to the commercial sector. So we do expect some additional increases, and even looking at the most recent quarter that we have, which is Q3 of 2021, on the putrescible side, we had 99.84 tons per day at the private transfer stations. That's up from the 2020 average of 93.05, but still down from the 2019 average of 10,976. So we're still down. We don't necessarily see additional reductions in throughput as a result of the waste equity bill, because the waste equity bill was a one-time reduction in permitted capacity. But we will continue to look at ways that we can reduce the burden of these facilities on the historically overburdened districts. We think the commercial waste zones program will contribute to that. One of the things that we're looking at as part of the RFP is the submission of waste management plans from every proposer. Those plans have to say, where is the refuse going to go, where is the recycling going to go, where are the organics going to go, and not only how are you going to ensure that that's handled properly, but also is it in proximity to the district or the zone that you're serving? Are you using rail or barge-based export for those products? Those sorts of questions, and that will be evaluated as part of the RFP process and is required by Local Law 199.
Thank you. Do you think the waste equity law has resulted in reduced air emissions in the designated districts? And if yes, can you provide details about those reductions?
So we absolutely think it has contributed to reduced air emissions in those districts. For every 2 inbound trucks that we eliminate, that's, and this is on average, every 2 inbound trucks, we eliminate 1 long haul truck on the back end. So if there's been, in Brooklyn North 1, for example, an 18% reduction or 1,200 tons per day, that's, 120 trucks inbound on the front end, 60 trucks outbound on the back end. And that's a pretty substantial reduction, 180 trucks per day in that district alone. We think that we don't have numbers on the specific air emissions as a result of waste equity. Again, there's some fuzziness in the data because of the COVID pandemic and the fact that waste equity was implemented literally during the pandemic. But we are fairly confident that there has been a reduction in air emissions as a result of the law.
And you all are tracking that just through the truck numbers and what you average this type of truck does versus what this type of truck emits.
Correct. And again, once we get into commercial waste zones and we have specific GPS data, we have specific data on which carters are picking up from where and tipping where in a lot more granularity than we have today. We can do that modeling and have more specific information. But right now we're looking at the data that the transfer stations provide to us in terms of the amount of material that's flowing through those transfer stations and where those transfer stations are located.
Okay. And remind me, how often do they report on that?
They report quarterly.
Quarterly, right.
But our inspectors can look at their books whenever they're conducting their weekly inspections.
Okay. I actually had a clarifying question from your testimony around the inspectors going to those stations. So how many of those inspectors do the unannounced visits to the transfer stations?
I think we have about 10 members of our permanent inspection unit, so they're full-time assigned to inspecting the transfer stations, both putrescible and non-putrescible, as well as the fill material transfer stations and any other registered fill material operations within the city.
Okay, and just to clarify, because I was unsure, mostly from my brain, the unannounced visits happen at each facility once per week, or the inspectors do a site visit once per week?
So the frequency varies based on the type of facility. So the putrescible facilities, which are the ones that handle regular garbage, those are inspected 4 times a month or about once a week. And that's a detailed inspection. So that's the inspector takes a look at the log books, walks through the facility, looks at the operating systems, looks at, are the right controls in place? Are you meeting all of the rules? So that's once a week on average. For the C&D facilities, that's twice a month, so every other week on average. And then they also conduct additional drive-by surveillance of each facility about 2 to 4 times a month. So it's for putrescible facilities, weekly inspections on a detailed level, and then about twice a week or every week additional drive-by inspections. And then if we ever get 311 complaints or community complaints, elected official complaints, we'll send an inspector right away to go take a look at what the issues are.
Okay, and just for a reminder, so there's about 10 folks doing all of that to how many facilities roughly?
On the putrescible and non-putrescible side, it's 38 permits at 36 facilities. There's, I believe, around another 15 to 20 fill transfer stations, and the fill transfer stations weren't covered by the waste equity law.
Okay, thank you. Can you expand on how the waste equity legislation has impacted the Bronx specifically? I know you went over a little bit of those, but just to go a little more in detail.
Yeah, so again, in the Bronx specifically, and the reductions in the Bronx under the law were a 33% target for permit reductions at those facilities in those 2 districts. permitted capacity in Bronx 1, which is, I actually don't know what that neighborhood is called, but Community Board 1 was 13% reduction. And that's predominantly due to the fact that the largest facility in that district is a rail export facility that was excluded from Local Law 152. And then in Bronx 2, much larger reduction of 30% of permitted capacity. And then looking at the throughput side, Bronx 1, reduction of throughput of 8%, Bronx 2, reduction of throughput of 23%.
So overall, are Bronx 1 and 2, Brooklyn 1, and Queens CD12 still processing the bulk of the city's solid waste?
So they are processing the majority of the city's private waste. Those 4 districts still combine for about 73% of private waste transfer. But when you add in the city facilities, the 5 locations that sanitation operates, the 4 MTSs and the Staten Island transfer station, it's only 43%. So it's much more evenly distributed. Obviously, the districts that have one of the large DSNY transfer stations then jump sort of to the top. So Queens 7, which has the North Shore Marine Transfer Station, or Brooklyn 7, which has the Hamilton Avenue Marine Transfer Station. Those then sort of become the largest districts, along with Brooklyn 1 and the 2 Bronx districts.
Okay, thank you so much. And so just my last question would be, with the CWZ, given that with the private waste, it's still 73%, do you anticipate that coming down?
I think there are a number of factors that could affect that. Obviously, one being whether we accept waste at the DSNY facilities, others being, the submissions of the waste management plans, where are the carters planning to dump the material, and we certainly through the commercial waste zones process don't want to increase the burden in these districts, and have taken steps to make sure that we can try to more fairly distribute that burden.
Okay, thank you all for answering the questions. I don't see any other questions from council members, so I'm going to kick it to Jessica.
Thank you very much. We will turn to public testimony, so give you a minute if you'd like to move, but thank you, admin, for your testimony. So, as I said, we will now turn to public testimony, and we will be doing a mix of in-person and remote testimony. We will be calling on the in-person panelists first, and then for the panelists who are remote. For those who are remote, for the public panelists, we will be giving 3 minutes to testify. And for those who are remote, you will begin once the sergeant has called time. Council members who have questions for a particular panelist, please use the Zoom raise hand function in Zoom, and you will be called on once the panelist has completed their testimony. For panelists testifying via Zoom, once your name is called, a member of our staff will unmute you, and the Sergeant at Arms will give you the go-ahead to begin upon setting the timer. Please wait for the Sergeant to announce that you may begin before delivering your testimony. Okay. And I will turn it to the chair to call the first in-person panel.
Our first panel will be Lacey Tober, Eric Goldstein, and Lonnie J. Portos. Thank you all for being here and hanging through. I know it takes a while for folks to be able to testify.
Yeah, should we start?
When the...
As soon as you're ready, I'll run the clock.
Okay, as soon as you're ready, they'll run the clock.
Okay, great.
Oh, I'm ready for them to start. Thank you.
Okay, great. Hello, and I guess good afternoon now. My name is Lacey Tauber. I'm the Legislative Director for Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso. Thank you so much to Chair Nurse for giving me the opportunity to speak today. And I know that the Borough President also had wanted to take this opportunity to welcome Commissioner Tisch, and I hope that the folks who are still here from Sanitation will pass along that he's very much looking forward to working with her. So I'm excited to be here today to talk about waste equity and commercial waste zones, which are two policies that were very close to the Borough President's heart. As chair of the Council Sanitation Committee for 8 years, developing these pieces of legislation and seeing them pass were two of his biggest priorities, and two of the victories of which I know he is the most proud. And we really appreciate Chair Nurse holding this hearing so that we can continue to publicly track DSNY's progress toward implementation of these bills. So I'll start with waste equity, a policy that the Borough President championed even before he became a council member. This bill was very personal for him because growing up on the south side of Williamsburg, he saw firsthand the impact that pollution from waste trucks was having on his health and the health of his friends and family. The fact that waste transfer stations are concentrated in 3 communities of color in this city, North Brooklyn, the South Bronx, and Southeast Queens, was no accident. It was because of decades of racist planning policies that sited these facilities next to low-income communities of color. And these communities have suffered the health and safety consequences as a result. And the Borough President fought to reduce waste processing capacity at the facilities in these districts to help provide these neighborhoods with some relief. The legislation also included a cap on new facility siting so that no other community could become the next dumping ground. We hope that the Council will uphold this important legislation and help us go even further by encouraging existing facilities to transport waste by rail and barge when possible rather than by truck. We're also excited for the potential of private carters to use the city's marine transfer stations, which, as we just discussed, will be potentially allowed for the first time under commercial waste zoning. The MTSs exist thanks to the environmental justice community's work on the solid waste management plan, and expanding their use will help further reduce truck traffic in overburdened communities. And then on commercial waste zoning, or as we refer to it, CWZ, the Borough President was also proud to champion this legislation, which will transform the commercial waste industry. According to DSNY's own calculations, implementing CWZ will dramatically reduce greenhouse gas emissions from the private carting industry, and as mentioned, deliver on environmental justice commitments. It will improve our city's diversion rates for recycling and organics, make our streets safer, and improve working conditions for workers in the industry. After passing this bill in 2019, the Borough President has been disappointed. Is it okay if I keep going? Thanks. Has been disappointed that DSNY has delayed implementation for 2 years. We understand that the pandemic caused unique challenges for every industry, including sanitation, but the most recent delay of the RFP response deadline from April to July is concerning. Chair Nurse and the Borough President, along with Comptroller Lander, Manhattan Borough President Levine, and 30 council members, delivered a letter to DSNY in March expressing their desire to see this program implemented as soon as possible. And I want to underscore that today. Every day we wait, our communities breathe more dirty air, more workers are exposed to dangerous working conditions, and we get further and further away from our city's zero waste goals as more recyclable and organic commercial waste is unnecessarily sent to landfills. I want to conclude by acknowledging that though we're not even close to done fighting to overhaul how our city handles its waste, we've made major progress in the name of justice and sustainability, and it's important to celebrate our victories. And the Borough President especially wanted to acknowledge the New York City Environmental Justice Alliance, New York Lawyers for the Public Interest, Natural Resources Defense Council, the Teamsters, Align, the entire Transform Don't Trash Coalition. This absolutely could not have happened without you. And to Chair Nurse, thank you for carrying on the work we started and for using your platform to focus on important policies like these. And finally, to DSNY, thank you for having a vision bold enough to shake up broken systems. Let's keep doing that together. Thank you.
And just to note, we changed the clock to 5 minutes, just because
Thank
we
you.
have a smaller list of witnesses or testimonies.
Thank you, Chair Nurse, and thanks to former Chair Reynoso. It's hard to think of two better advocates for all of the causes that we care about than the two of you. So Thank you. My name is Eric Goldstein, and I'm New York City Environment Director at the Natural Resources Defense Council, a national nonprofit legal and scientific organization. NRDC has been working on waste issues in New York for 4 decades. Our long-term goal remains unchanged: to transform New York City waste policy from primary reliance on landfilling and incineration to having waste prevention, composting, recycling, and equity, the 4 cornerstones of city solid waste policy. For too long, there's been a strong and troubling relationship between waste handling and environmental justice in America. Dr. Robert Bullard, one of the grandfathers of the environmental justice movement, in his book Confronting Environmental Racism, identified 9 of the early environmental justice battles throughout the country. 2/3 of them, 6 of the 9, involved waste issues. And right here in New York City, we could add 3 more. The battle over the North River sewage waste treatment plant in the 1980s and 1990s that was led by We Act for Environmental Justice. 2, the proliferation of land-based transfer stations in 3 communities as Fresh Kills landfill tipping fees were increased in the 80s and early 90s. And 3, the ongoing operation of many commercial waste carting programs. We have 4 recommendations for reducing environmental injustices associated with this waste handling in New York City. The top of the list: implementation of the waste zone law in timely fashion. As you know, Local Law 199 of 2019 established a historic new vision for the collection of commercial waste in the nation's largest city. That's cause for celebration, but ultimately, implementation of the law is what really counts. So we were concerned when the deadline for the second round of RFP submissions was pushed back 3 months until July 15th. On the other hand, we're encouraged by the continuing DSNY staff level commitment to this issue and to your leadership, Chair Nurse, and that of Speaker Adams, to ensure that there's sufficient funding for full implementation of this program. Local Law 199 provides that the Commissioner of Sanitation shall promulgate rules setting an implementation start date and a final implementation date for each commercial waste zone. And it's our hope and expectation that as the RFP process concludes at the end of this year, the first of these rules will be promulgated before December 2022. Second, we urge the city to step up efforts to utilize the marine transfer stations for commercial waste. As you've indicated, the 2006 Solid Waste Management Plan established a new emphasis on modern marine transfer stations and initiated their reconstruction. That work has now been completed at 4 transfer stations: North Shore, East 91st Street, Hamilton Avenue, and Southwest Brooklyn. But handling DSY collected waste was not the entire vision for these facilities. The 2006 Solid Waste Management Plan called for developing, quote, a sound approach to redistribute private transfer capacity from a small number of communities that have the largest proportion of the system's impacts. And the plan continued. In Manhattan, where over 40% of the city's commercial waste originates, but no private putrescible transfer stations are located, the DSNY proposes for its West 59th Street Marine Transfer Station and the work of the private sector to explore ways to use it as a transfer station for commercial waste. In addition, the plan said, the city will evaluate ways to encourage the movement of commercial waste through the MTSs that will be converted as part of the long-term export plan. But the 59th Street facility conversion hasn't happened, and sending commercial waste through the MTSs, the marine transfer stations, is still a distant vision. We urge this committee to explore these issues in depth and to work with the Department of Sanitation in the months ahead so that these long-delayed visions of the 2006 plan can be implemented. Third, we urge the city to end reliance on the Newark incinerator as a final destination for New York City waste. Today, Manhattan's putrescible waste, much of it anyway, is sent to the Essex County incinerator in Newark, New Jersey. This has been for years a poorly operating facility that has been cited for performance problems in discharging excess contaminants into the air. The impacts have been felt most significantly on the ironbound community in Newark, which has already suffered more than its fair share of environmental burdens. And prevailing winds often carry pollutants from west to east, which means that pollution from the Essex County incinerator often comes right back here to New York City. These operating problems at the incinerator provide a possible justification for New York City to cancel its contract with this facility. At a minimum, the city's contract with Essex County Incinerator should not be renewed in the interest of sustainability and environmental justice. Finally, the city can and must implement curbside community composting for every New York City household. As you know, organics, food scraps, and yard waste are the largest portion of the city's residential waste stream. Currently, these wastes are sent overwhelmingly to landfills and incinerators, which are too often located in black and brown communities. And the current system of leaving organics and mixed waste in black plastic bags is just what the city's vibrant rat population loves. Our current system for residential food waste collection provides an enticing source of food for our city's increasingly brazen rats. Rats and street cleanliness are another issue where the burden seems to fall disproportionately on lower income and black and brown communities. So with great enthusiasm, we endorse the package of composting expansion bills introduced yesterday by you, by Councilmember Hanif and Councilmember Powers. And we thank you again for the leadership spark you're providing, and to Speaker Adams for appointing you.
Good afternoon, Committee Chair Nurse and Committee on Sanitation and Solid Waste Management. Thanks for the opportunity to testify. We've been participating in a lot of these hearings, and we really appreciate your leadership on such an important topic. I'm Lonnie J. Portis, the Environmental Policy and Advocacy Coordinator at We Act for Environmental Justice. I routinely analyze New York City policies and programs for equity and climate justice, and I co-lead a group of community members mobilized around waste and sanitation problems in Northern Manhattan. Low-income communities and communities of color throughout New York City have historically been burdened by a disproportionate number of polluting generating facilities such as factories, power plants, bus depots, sewage treatment plants, garbage dumps, and transfer stations, and trucking centers. This inequitable siting has turned these communities into environmental sacrifice zones, with cumulative impacts of these multiple sources of pollution exponentially harming their residents, causing health impacts such as asthma, lung and heart disease, increased birth defects, and learning impairments. I just want to stress today the importance of upholding New York City's waste equity law and implementing commercial waste zones, especially in light of New York State Senate and Assembly passing cumulative impacts legislation just the other day. A more detailed written testimony will be provided after this hearing on this subject, and We Act is looking forward to working closely with this committee on all the zero waste initiatives. And I guess I'll yield my time.
Thank you. Thank you so much to this panel. Thank you all for pushing as hard as you do to even get these laws here in the first place. So we're excited to move it forward and implement. Thank you so much. Our next panel is going to be Maritza Silva Farrell and Daniel Wright. Sorry if I mispronounced the last name. Daniel Wright from the Teamsters.
And if you haven't signed in with the Sergeants at Arms but would like to testify in person, please do so. Thank you.
And when you're ready, you can start. Yeah, you can start.
Thank you, Chair Nurse and the committee, for the opportunity to speak here. By way of introduction, I'm Daniel Wright. I'm the president of Teamsters Local 813. We represent workers in the private sanitation industry. We at Local 813 are advocates of Local Law 199. We believe in worker safety, worker conditions that are fair and reasonable, traffic safety, and equipment safety. We are also interested in environmental issues being addressed. We will continue to be a champion for labor, and we look forward to continuing to work with the administration, Council Chair Nurse, Commissioner Tisch and the DSNY, and the employers within the industry. The components of this law are common sense measures, and I'm pleased to see the implementation of Local Law 199. Thank you.
Is that good? Okay, I'm out of practice. Good afternoon, Council Member Nurse and Chair Nurse. We are extremely happy to be here today. Really appreciate the time that you all are making for this hearing. So my name is Maritza Silva Farrell. I am the Executive Director of Align New York. We are a long-standing alliance of community, labor, and environmental justice organizations across the state. And a lot of our work is just to build coalitions, just like the one we built with the Transform Don't Trash Coalition that has been leading this work with the passage of the Law 199. As we know, the current private waste system isn't effective, with dozens of carrying companies competing businesses in each neighborhood. We've seen it, we continue to see it even this morning, I saw some of that. Those are contributing to mistreatment of workers, dangerous conditions for drivers and pedestrians alike, low recycling rates, and a system that dumps a disproportionate amount of garbage and air pollution on a few of environmental justice communities. We've seen that in so many districts across the city. That's the reason why we took on this fight back in 2014 at this point. Our city faces a unique opportunity right now to transform our commercial waste system that will benefit the environment, workers, and the safety of our communities, as we have said before. When fully implemented, commercial waste zones will take 18 million diesel truck miles of New York City streets. It will increase recycling and waste reduction. We have to remember that note because it's important when we talk about addressing climate change. We will be actually doing it with this law. It is critical that the city fully implement this law swiftly and as quick as possible. As mentioned by previous speakers, we have delayed this for 2 years. And I was glad to hear that the Department of Sanitation has the funding to do so, and we look forward to working with the Department of Sanitation in their plans. The current RFP process will be critical, and we have to look at that process very closely, remembering that 10 years is what we will be giving to the scatters to provide the services. The services will be given to small businesses, many of the businesses that we know have been struggling during this pandemic. So it is critical that we do this and we do it right. The New York Transform Don't Trash Coalition urges the city to, once again, do this quickly without any more delays. And at the same time, we do appreciate the commitment of the City Council, the commitment of Chair Nurse, and the commitment of the Mayor's office to move this implementation. It is important also to uphold the staffers and stakeholders who are moving this process forward. Many of the members of the Department of Sanitation and the staff members have been working very diligently with our coalition, as mentioned earlier today, so we look forward to continue that collaboration. And even more so now that we have a new commissioner. Excited to be working with the new commissioner and congratulating her as well in her position. One last thing I want to mention is that with implementation of this law, we are going to be leading the way across the country. So we have to ensure that with the collaboration of City Council and the Mayor's office, we will do this, and other states that have been interested in implementing this, similarly like LA and Seattle and other places, will take the lead and do it this right. Thank you very much for your leadership.
Thank you, and thank you very much. I did have one question, if you're comfortable answering. Councilmember Farias brought up the question about prevailing wages, and I guess I'm curious if you feel comfortable sharing what is the current kind of pay scale for private sanitation workers? What are the benefits they're getting? If you want to elaborate between folks who are in union shops, folks who are non-union shops, and what that means for those workers and their families, and why the CWZ really needs to encourage that.
The current union sanitation workers are probably making anywhere in the vicinity of $30 to $40 an hour, plus benefits, which would include a retirement, either a pension or a 401k plan, and medical benefits. What's going on outside of the union industry, can vary greatly. I wouldn't really be able to comment directly on that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your testimony today. Thank you for your advocacy and for working together. Our next panel will be Justin Wood from NYLPE, Carlos Castel Grove from New York League of Conservation Voters, and I don't want to butcher this, Lud Dubuque from something in recycling. Sorry, I can't read the National Waste and Recycling. And we can start down the line whenever you all are ready.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Justin Wood. I'm the Director of Policy at New York Lawyers for the Public Interest. Thank you so much, Chair Nurse, and thank you to the Business Integrity Commission and sanitation staff who testified earlier. It's very exciting for those of us who have been members of the Transform Don't Trash Coalition for many years to finally hear that implementation of Local Law 199, the Commercial Waste Zones Law, is going to move forward on July 15th. And I think we've heard a lot today about the benefits of this law, the vision behind this law, the win-win-win it's going to be for workers in the sanitation industry, for responsible companies in the industry, for environmental justice communities, for safe streets. And so I'll just highlight a couple of the ways in which we hope that implementation will leverage the maximum possible investments in climate emissions reductions, green jobs, and equity. Because this Local Law 199 is also a huge opportunity to continue advancing waste equity in our city. So the truck mile reductions that are expected from this system are really exciting. An even possibly bigger benefit for climate emissions is to finally start boosting reductions in the amount of waste being landfilled and incinerated from our commercial businesses. And this is going to require the transparency, the long-term investments and contracts that we heard about, and really for the haulers that are selected for this system to begin working in concert with their customers, with micro haulers, with food rescue organizations, to really sharply reduce the amounts of waste, particularly organic waste, that are being trucked to landfills right now. We estimated the potential climate benefits from a robust implementation of this system a few years ago. And if we just get to Seattle's level of recycling with a similar system, we could reduce 2 million tons of carbon emissions from our atmosphere just from New York City annually. That's like more than 400,000 cars off the road, the equivalent. So there's huge low-hanging fruit here that would also produce a lot of good local green jobs. I'll just quickly highlight a couple of the equity benefits of a robust and strong version of the Commercial Waste Zones Law being implemented. We've heard a lot about the possibility of using marine transfer stations to further cut truck miles from environmental justice communities. That's a great idea. We hope the city will move forward with opening those facilities to the commercial carters ASAP. There's also a huge opportunity here, again, because of those long-term contracts, to leverage investments in things like fully electric, zero-emissions garbage trucks that are being tested around the country. And this is an opportunity to align our private waste industry with our public sector fleets and help meet those same green fleet goals that the mayor and the state have laid out. So we're very excited to work with the City Council. Thank you so much for holding this hearing. Excited to work with the new Commissioner of Sanitation and Business Integrity Commission and see this through this year. Thanks so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Carlos Castelcroc. I'm the Associate for New York City Programs at the New York League of Conservation Voters. NYLCV represents over 30,000 members in New York City, and we're committed to advancing a sustainability agenda that will make our people, our neighborhoods, and our economy healthier and more resilient. And I'd like to thank the chair so much for having us in person here today. It's exciting to talk about this issue. At NYLCV, we firmly believe that an extensive, eco-friendly, and equitable waste management system is essential to the cleanliness and health of our city. If we are to achieve the city's goal, and soon to be mandate, of eliminating all the waste sent to landfills by 2030 and improving quality of life for all residents, we must be investing in expansions and comprehensive overhauls to our waste management systems and programs. New York City produces more than 14 million tons of trash every year. Waste in landfills releases methane, a potent greenhouse gas, and 120,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide. 1/3 of our waste is organic materials, making citywide organics recycling program long overdue. So we're elated that we have so many bills introduced yesterday to help us tackle this issue. Communities of color and low-income communities are most often located near polluting facilities like waste transfer stations and incinerators, whose emissions are exacerbated with increased waste. These higher rates of pollution caused by waste cause disproportionately higher cases of asthma, cancer, and other health issues, and compound existing environmental and racial inequities in these same communities. Creating a more reliable and accessible composting system would make the separation of food waste equitable and efficient, as well as reduce its emissions from transportation and decomposition. Mayor Adams just announced increased investments in containerization. In a containerization pilot, we must continue to adopt desired guidelines for buildings and implement containerization on our streets to streamline waste collection and prevent buildup on our sidewalks and trash rooms. And this would also reduce rodents, improve aesthetics, and overall better experience for workers, small businesses, and families alike. Finally, we need this commercial waste zones implemented as soon as possible. We're glad to hear that we now have a date, and we're glad that the Sanitation Department has committed to this after so many delays. Expanding our composting and recycling system and improving trash pickup routes will increase diversion rates from landfills and reduce unnecessary emissions, especially for marginalized communities impacted the most. Reducing the millions of tons of solid waste we send to landfills and incinerators annually is critical to help this and to curbing greenhouse gas emissions overall. The leaders in our council have shown us that they are willing to be bold on waste management, and we are very excited to see all of the bills introduced yesterday to move through, and we are excited to work for the work to come. Thank you.
Hi, Chair Nurse. I want to thank you for the opportunity to testify in front of the committee today. My name is Lou Dubuque, and I'm the Vice President for the Northeast of the National Waste and Recycling Association. NWRA represents the hardworking men and women of the industry who collect and manage waste, recyclables, and organics produced by more than 100,000 commercial entities in this great city. I am here today to discuss the city's commercial waste zone program. To be clear, nowhere in the U.S. has such a zoning structure been adopted or implemented to this scale. We fully understand this is an unprecedented and complex process. NWRA and our members share New York City's goal of promoting a modern and effective industry that is not just focused on providing its core services, but is refocused on sustainability, zero waste, emission reductions, and fair labor practices. Stakeholders in the process, including both the service industry we represent and the business community that we serve, are pleased that the timeline for implementation of the program has been carefully considered and extended. This was done for a host of reasons, not the least of which has been the upheaval of the local economy due to the COVID pandemic. Volumes are down in the city and many businesses remain closed and or operating at greatly reduced levels. Office workers are still largely away from the office and tourism is yet to rebound, affecting hotels, restaurants, and cultural institutions. In addition to the obvious uncertainty of future solid waste volumes and continued COVID reopening challenges, implementation of such a significant and potentially confusing transition to a commercial waste franchise system requires a measured, thoughtful, and collaborative implementation process and timeline. Significant aspects of implementation that have not been sufficiently considered or completed will need to be addressed prior to awarding zones and during the transition. These include updated customer data to better understand changes in waste volume and composition. Will joint ventures among longtime competitors be allowed, and with what guidelines? What information on existing customers, service levels, and pricing will be provided for new zone award winners? Will the DSNY rail and marine transfer stations be accepting commercial waste and on what terms, including rates? And how will local businesses handle the transition phase? Will DSNY cover gaps in service? To effectively address these issues, we urge the administration to take the following steps. We are to measure a measured and extended implementation timeline to ensure the customer service and account transitions are executed in an orderly and efficient manner. Further award winners will need appropriate time to communicate, procure equipment, and ramp staffing to onboard new customers and amend service levels. Sequencing the transition of zones to, quote, test the process is worth the consideration, even if such a strategy extends implementation timelines. Better to get it right than to rush such an unprecedented zoning implementation. We, along with the business community, are concerned that the cumulative effort of the CWZ system, many new requirements, along with general inflation and industry costs, will result in prices considerably higher than at present. Every effort should be made to minimize that possibility by careful review of the proposed system. When all regulations are completed and market data updated, DSNY should develop a comprehensive picture of the intended CWZ scheme and its implementation and present it to key stakeholders, including the business community. Also important is to subject the entire package to an independent review for suggestion on final improvements. I have a more detailed list of questions and recommendations. I'll present those in the written comments. Our New York City members would welcome the opportunity for a constructive dialogue on all these issues. Again, I want to reiterate that we understand this is an unprecedented and complex process and will work with the city to help implement this vital system. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and look forward to getting answers to many of the concerns we brought up today. I also look forward to working with New York City Council and advocating in New York City's private sector waste industry. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this panel. And I think we're going to move to the virtual space. Thank you all for being here. If there's anyone else who wants to sign up to testify, you can sign up over there, but we're going to move to the virtual space.
Thank you, Chair. We will now call on the public who is testifying remotely. As a reminder, you will have 5 minutes to testify and wait until the sergeant calls time before you begin your testimony, and a member of our staff will unmute you. First, we will call on Lauren Pine, followed by Greg Todd, followed by Frederick Schneider. Lauren Pine, you may begin when the sergeant calls time.
Time starts now.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Lauren Pine, and I'm a member of Families for Safe Streets. I am here to implore the long overdue implementation of commercial waste zone reform, which was passed in 2019 to make the private sanitation industry safer, more efficient, and greener. As we all know, it is now 2022. I know firsthand what is at stake. On November 15th in 2017, I was crossing in the crosswalk with the light and was struck and dragged by a 10-wheel dump truck making a right turn. That is a photo of the truck right after it hit me at the crash site behind me. I was rushed to Bellevue Hospital, where I was put into a medically induced coma for 4 days. I had a full leg amputation, and that includes my femur. That's less than 2% of all amputations due to the high mortality rate. I also have residual nerve damage and foot drop in my right leg, requiring me to use a brace and crutches in addition to a heavy prosthetic leg. Crashes like mine are preventable. I'm fortunate to be alive. If there's any silver lining to my story, it is that even if I cannot return to my former career as a nurse in a cancer center, I can use my voice, my white privilege, and my visible disability to volunteer and prevent more harm. Private sanitation trucks are among the most dangerous vehicles in our city. In 2019, a city study found that these trucks had claimed the lives of at least 43 New Yorkers since 2010. Today, large vehicles, including waste hauling trucks, are involved in about 1/5 of crashes where pedestrians like myself are killed or seriously injured. By making collection routes shorter and holding these companies to enforceable safety standards, the commercial waste zone system will eliminate millions of unnecessary truck miles from our streets, reduce driver fatigue, and ensure that companies install basic safety measures like side guards and 360-degree cameras on their trucks. The industry will not reform itself if we wait. We already know from BIC that only 27% of heavy private waste vehicles have affirmatively installed side guards. For the New Yorkers like myself who have been injured, killed, or are routinely threatened by these trucks, reform cannot come fast enough. Local Law 199 must be implemented without delay. Thank you so much for your service and your time today.
Thank you for your testimony. We will now call on we will now call on Greg Todd, followed by Frederick Schneider, followed by Diana Blackwell. Greg Todd, you may begin when the sergeant calls time.
Time starts now.
Hello, my name is Greg Todd, and I'm looking for my testimony here. 1 second. Yes, I would like to thank the council member, Nurse, and the Sanitation Committee for creating this opportunity to speak. My name is Greg Todd. I reside in the 36th Councilmanic District, which CHA is our representative. And as many of you will agree, inequity among neighborhoods in New York City is hardly new. As far back as 1895, when Colonel George Waring instituted the first uniform sanitation crews in New York City, wealthy neighborhoods had already funded their own private sanitation services. So his newly impaneled crew, 1,000 people in white uniforms, benefited primarily the poor neighborhoods. So it is in keeping with this tradition of environmental justice that we want to ensure that all communities receive their fair share of sanitation spending in 2023. As it stands now, only more affluent neighborhoods are getting curbside collection of organics. To remedy this situation, we would like to see sanitation implement a rigorous and thoughtfully implemented pilot studies to determine which organic collection strategies work best in environmental justice communities. We agree with the mayor that low participation rates in the curbside collection program, also known as brown bin program, makes it extremely expensive to implement. We're convinced we cannot allow this to continue. Other options, such as containerization, especially for large apartment buildings and NYCHA developments, and community-based processing, as required by the CORE Act introduced recently by Council Member Keith Powers, must be tried in pilot programs in 2022 and 2023. By capturing and processing organics within our community, the city can not only reduce the expense of shipping heavy organics to distant landfills, we can create green jobs, reduce release of toxic soot and greenhouse gas emissions into the atmosphere, and provide valuable compost for community gardens, tree beds, and our city parks. By creating green jobs in areas where employment is most needed, the city can basically recapture sanitation monies spent by employing community members who in turn spend those monies in their neighborhoods and enhance the city's tax base. Regarding commercial waste zone, micro-haulers must not be barred from taking advantage of this program. As it stands now under sanitation policy, micro-haulers cannot use waste consolidation strategies that they find necessary given the absence of local organics processing facilities. Micro-haulers must also pay burdensome insurance premiums not commensurate with the size of their operations. Removing these regulatory burdens will allow more entrepreneurs in environmental justice communities to participate in the opportunities presented by the CWZ. I thank you again for this opportunity to present my thoughts and look forward to a more just and fair sanitation budget in fiscal year 2023. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We will now call on Frederick Schneider, followed by Diana Blackwell, followed by Ryan Thorson Carson. Frederick Schneider, you may begin when the sergeant calls time.
Starting time.
Okay, good morning. Good morning, Chairwoman Nurse, distinguished committee members. I come before you today as the business manager of Local Union 108 that represents more workers in the private sanitation industry than any other in New York City. The 800+ hardworking men and women members of Labor's Local 108 do the arduous, dangerous, and dirty work of collecting and sorting New York City's commercial waste. Before Local 108 organized this industry, raising its members to middle-class wages with benefits, it was at best a minimum wage profession dominated by organized crime and very dangerous to both its workers and the general public. Unfortunately, wrong-headed policies imposed by the city of New York seem specifically designed to return the industry to its former shameful status. Local 199 of 2019 stated that part of the legislative intent was to remedy the ills of private sanitation in New York, noting that the industry is plagued by dangerous driving and insufficient attention to public safety, harmful environmental impacts, and poor customer service. Pricing remains opaque to most customers, and that is a solution to the issues raised. Carters are required to operate more responsibly and adequately train workers. Yet policies of the city of New York are not only preventing this, they seem motivated by the desire to create a race to the bottom for workers in private sanitation. Many of our unionized contractors have embraced the environmental and safety concerns of Local 199. First and foremost, they have unionized workers providing the training and the worker representation that protects these vulnerable employees. Additionally, some of our contractors proactively, not under any legal mandate at the time, enclosed their waste transfer stations to contain odors and other odors. Traded in their old school packet trucks for clean, green, eco-friendly, low-emission vehicles, and installed bike guards on the vehicles to protect the bicycle community, among other actions. All of these improvements are applauded and were sorely needed. And our contractors took it upon themselves to help clean up the industry at substantial cost to their businesses. The city of New York becomes complicit in continuing the dubious practices that have plagued the industry through the Business Integrity Commission. The BIC is authorized to establish maximum and minimum rates that private carters can charge for almost all types of garbage and recyclable carting services. A customer can be charged above the maximum, cannot be charged above the maximum rate and can negotiate a rate below the maximum. We believe this is a good policy. It protects the restaurants and bodegas and other small businesses from both the bad actors to the industry as well as the huge national corporations that we expect will soon attempt to monopolize the industry through the changes made by the prior city council. The problem is the BIC has not and simply will not establish a minimum rate to be charged, even though they are authorized to do so. The current maximum rate is determined by the BIC, sets the top rate at $20.76 per cubic yard. Our responsible contractors with a unionized workforce with green trucks, enclosed transfer stations generally charge around $19 a yard. The bad actors of the industry, those who exploit a mostly black and brown workforce, the bottom feeders who have dangerous and polluting rattle-trap trucks zooming all over the streets of New York that have known to charge as little as $5 a yard or less per yard. When the BIC determines that over $20 per yard is a just price, a price where contractors can pay fair wage and benefits and operate in a safe, environmentally responsible way, how can they say, on the other hand, that carters can also charge a quarter, a tenth, or a 12th of the responsible rate and still expect the mandates of local law 199 to be met? How are responsible contractors who need to charge $19 per yard responsibly to pay real wages and benefits supposed to compete with contractors who are allowed to charge $5, $4, even $2 a yard? The failure of the BIC to set a floor facilitates the exploitation of workers. It enables substandard services to the city's already struggling business community, and forces a largely immigrant workforce to work not just for less than living wage, but in many cases, less than minimum wage. It's an absolute disgrace that the city will consider itself a bastion of progressivism, maintains official policies that serve no other purpose than to encourage the exploitation of a certain workforce. To cure some of the greatest ills of the private sanitation industry, the BIC should be mandated by law to set a price ceiling and a price floor. A floor that is high enough percentage of the maximum to allow responsible companies to compete against the criminals and lowlifes that proliferate in the industry. Clearly allowing the BIC to set rates as a matter of policy isn't working because their proactive choice to force private sanitation to be in an industry that must exploit workers and businesses in order to complete.
Time expired.
Says local law, local 199. I appreciate your time and open for questions.
Thank you for your testimony. We will now call on Diana Blackwell, followed by Ryan Thorson Carson, followed by Dominic Cicino. Diana Blackwell, you may begin when the sergeant calls time.
Starting time.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Chair Nurse, for holding this hearing. My name is Diana Blackwell, and I'm the member of the Manhattan Squad and chair of the NYCC Recycling Committee, and I'm also a 24-year resident of public housing. Waste equity in New York City means not only removing the unequal burden of pollution caused by waste removal from environmental justice communities, but providing equal access to waste collection for all communities. While we were encouraged to see a new mandatory citywide organic collection bill announced by Councilmember Hanik on Earth Day at the request of the Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso, we are concerned to see that the public housing has thus far been excluded from the bill's proposed organic collection services. We are very much interested in learning more about the decision as well as the other details of the bill. It is imperative that the public housing and other NYCC apartments be included in any waste collection legislation to ensure equitable access to waste services for residents and equitable development of city-backed sustainability programs. NYCC's dismal recycling rate of just 1.5% is a testament to how a subsection of the city can fall behind when it's excluded from mandatory legislation for over 25 years. Including NYCC in what the decision-making and the program design of the organic collection rollout avoids future challenges in the unequal infrastructure, development, and staffing procedures that NYCC is currently navigating with recycling. Enhanced access to recycling and organic collection is also part of the NYCC sustainability agenda. And including NYCC buildings in Councilmember Hanif's bill would greatly support this goal. For NYCC's residents, inclusion in the mandatory organic program signifies that we too are New Yorkers who can help the city battle the climate crisis by composting their organic waste. For an education and outreach perspective, the DSNY's cost per person of a public-facing organic diversion campaign would decrease in NYCC's over 400,000 residents, which would act on the campaign's message to reduce over 60,000 tons of organic waste per year. 1 in 15 New Yorkers are NYCCC residents, and if NYCCC were a city, it would rank 34th based on population, larger than Atlanta, Miami, and Sacramento. Including NYCCC in all recycling programs is a requirement if New York City seeks to achieve its zero waste by 2030 goal. We urge City Council to propose a bill that includes mandatory organic collection for all New Yorkers. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. We will now hear from Ryan Thorson Carson, followed by Dominic Cicino. Ryan Thorson Carson, you may begin when the sergeant calls time.
Starting time.
Great, thank you so much. Good afternoon. My name is Ryan Thorson Carson, and I'm the Environmental Campaign Coordinator for the New York Public Interest Research Group, NYPIRG. NYPIRG is a student-directed, nonpartisan, not-for-profit research and advocacy organization. NYPIRG is campus chapters across New York City, and we serve colleges. We serve students at 9 colleges in the CUNY system, as well as Pratt Institute in Brooklyn. We appreciate the opportunity to testify before the New York City Council Committee on Sanitation and Solid Waste Management on the need for an expanded and modernized bottle bill ahead of its 40th anniversary this year. Just 6 weeks from now is the official anniversary of the passage of the law. So our testimony is centered on the critical need to expand the bottle bill to handle the city and state's ongoing waste crisis brought on by China's recent decision to stop accepting American waste. So advocates across the state are pushing for a modernization of New York State's 40-year-old bottle deposit law. This proposal would increase the deposit from a nickel to a dime, and it would expand the types of containers to sports drinks, iced teas, juices, wine, and liquor that New Yorkers consume every year. Dairy products and infant formulas would be exempt. And the law has been extremely successful in boosting the state's and the city's recycling rates and has reduced litter. Expansion would bring immediate and long-lasting financial and environmental benefits to the city's solid waste programs. It's essential that the Committee on Sanitation and Solid Waste support efforts to improve the state's bottle bill and call upon our elected officials in Albany to act now. So enacted in 1982, the New York State Returnable Container Law, commonly known as the Bottle Bill, requires a 5-cent refundable deposit to be placed on eligible beverage containers. Upon passage, the bottle law covered only beer and soda in New York and was subsequently expanded to cover wine coolers and water bottles. The law requires retailers who sell covered beverages to accept returns on empty containers for the products they sell and to refund those deposits. The law also requires beverage distributors to compensate retailers for the cost of collecting and recycling empty containers by paying them a small handling fee per container. Now, New York City and other municipal recycling programs are particularly struggling with glass breaking in their recycling streams. When glass breaks in curbside containers, it can contaminate or render unrecyclable for the municipality or for other materials. So the expansion of the bottle bill to include non-carbonated beverage containers, wine, spirits, and hard cider would remove from curbside recycling a significant portion of those glass containers that municipal recycling programs are struggling with. Currently, glass containers pose a daunting challenge for municipal recycling programs already grappling with that aforementioned decision by China to stop accepting some of the United States recyclate material or recyclables. Even when recyclable materials are not contaminated by broken glass, the cost of recycling containers that are not covered under the state's bottle bill are too high for many municipalities. For example, the costs associated with collecting and processing PET plastic bottles and glass per ton are higher than the revenues per ton of scrap metal. States that have a bottle deposit are 46% more likely to recycle PET plastic bottles than states that do not. And expanding the bottle bill would reduce or eliminate these costs for municipal recycling programs by creating a financial incentive, or the deposit, for containers to be returned and an obligation, or the law, for retailers to accept these containers, relieving the burden on the local government for recycling programs. So I'd just like to highlight some areas of NYPIRG's written testimony, which will go further into detail as to ways in which New York City could stand to benefit from an expanded bottle bill. So these are just a couple of highlights. So one, there would be less trash for the city to collect, transport, and dispose of. So from an environmental standpoint, expanding the number of containers included in the bottle bill would very likely increase recycling rates of these containers, relieve MRFs of a portion of low value and difficult to manage material, and would provide opportunity for additional container glass to make its way through the redemption system, where it has a much higher likelihood of being used in new container manufacturing and other higher use recycling outlets. Two, economically struggling New Yorkers would gain an income boost. If there is an increase in recycling rates, the canners mentioned earlier should see a boost in their income as well. So a canner is somebody who collects the material that is recyclable under the bottle bill and returns them to a redemption center. So for many of New York's most marginalized residents, income from collecting unredeemed deposits is a needed lifeline. By doubling the deposit, New York could significantly increase the income of many people who rely on the practice of canning, collecting bottles and cans for unredeemed deposits, while simultaneously reducing the environmental inequities between more and less prosperous communities regarding litter and container pollution. And finally, just one more highlight. Oh, sorry. Can I highlight this just last 3 sentences here?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate it. New York's Environmental Protection Fund would see revenues and could provide help for the city's recycling and environmental programs. So under the current law, for deposits that are not redeemed, New York State controls those nickels and then allocates 80% of unredeemed deposits to the state general fund and then the Environmental Protection Fund. So most notably, the DEC relies on EPF money to buy land and conservation easements to protect the quality of New York City's drinking water through the Catskill-Delaware watershed region. Without open space protection in the Catskill region, New York City would have to spend billions of dollars in water filtration. So the bottle bill is a much needed income stream for those programs. Thank you very much for the time. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you for your testimony. We will now hear from Dominic Cicino. You may begin when the sergeant calls time.
Starting time.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to talk to the Committee on Sanitation and Solid Waste Management about American Recycling's proposed waste-to-rail facility. American Recycling was established here in 1942 when this neighborhood was a farming community, and the neighborhood has grown up around it. And we realized that we would like to make much-needed infrastructure changes to our operation to blend in better with our community. We feel that we could eliminate 46 round-trip truck trips to the landfill every day, which would eliminate about 10 million highway miles from the streets of New York every year. So we feel that local law 152, what came in place, it was the waste equity law was a much needed improvement in the current system. But unfortunately, it kind of hampered our ability to get financing for our waste to rail project. So we would like to talk to the committee today. In the future, we would like to invite everyone down for a meeting so they could see the plan and see what we're proposing. So that way you could see that our switching from a truck-based facility to a waste to rail facility, is an important change for the community as a whole. We are looking at this holistically, and we want input in our plans from the Committee on Sanitation and Solid Waste and community members. We're setting up meetings this spring for the local community to come out and give us their input so we can explain and show them what we're committing towards in the future. And we're just asking the committee to talk about potential changes to local law 152 that could make this idea a reality. We know that increased recycling and we know that increased organics collection is a big part of this as well. And our new plan and the facility, will have the capability of reducing the amount of waste that goes to a landfill. So we're here to ask, just to open up a conversation and encourage everyone on the committee to schedule an appointment, come down, take a tour of the facility, see our new project, and let's have an open dialogue about how we could change local law 152 to make it possible for us to create this waste to rail facility. There are not many private companies that have the ability to do as much good for their community as we have in changing this facility from a truck-based facility to a rail-based facility. I know a few members, including the chairwoman, have taken a tour and seen the project. So we just want to encourage everybody on the committee, to review the project, talk to us about what you feel we could do together as a public-private partnership to kind of look at this holistically and make this facility a reality. We know that removing truck trips from the streets of New York is the most environmental way to remove waste from the city. And we also know that the upcoming, commercial waste zone encourages, export by rail, and they're going to be increasing the scoring for those companies. So we want to be part of that solution as well. And we know that currently the way the commercial waste zoning is going, that we feel there's no, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's nothing that commits these companies from actually disposing of the material at the facilities that they put in their RFPs. So we'd like you guys to encourage a review of that part of the CWZ and see if there's a way you guys can make these companies commit to the greener facilities. They can put it in the CWZ as we're going there, and then operationally, once they win the zone, they're not held to taking it to these facilities that will be rail-based, that will be barge-based, and that have organics collection and processing capabilities. So we just encourage a quick review of that portion of the CWZ. And also, in the spirit of the CWZ, we're just wondering if the Department of Sanitation, if they're collecting in a certain zone, is going to be held to disposing of it within that same zone, as long as the facilities are equally as green as using the marine transfer station. So thank you guys for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. If we have inadvertently missed anyone that is registered to testify today and has yet to have been called, please use the Zoom raise hand function and you will be called in the order that your hand has been raised. Seeing none, I will turn it over to Chair Nurse for her closing.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you for helping to coordinate this committee, and to all of the folks who gave testimony. We hear you, and we've been taking notes. I've been taking notes. There's a lot of really good questions that came up, both just on the last testimony and others. I really encourage, particularly the person who had comments and questions and concerns about sanitation and organics and recycling at NYCHA, to look out for a date for our June hearing, which will be on NYCHA and sanitation. And then also, please encourage everyone to return on May 10th for our executive budget hearing, where we need to go into the details of how all of these programs are going to be financed and staff lines being taken care of. So thank you to all the council members who were on earlier. Thank you to the administration for testifying and being here to answer questions. Thank you to my lovely team of two that are left here in the chamber, and to the rest of the task force who's also been willing to do in person. Thank you so much for willing to do that. We look forward to our next hearing. I look forward to following up with many of the panelists who joined today. I have a lot of questions myself based on your testimony that I would like to dive into. So looking forward to continuing this conversation as implementation moves closer to happening. So thank you so much. This is the end of our hearing today. Thank you.